Hello and welcome to the Free Outside Show. Short intro today because we have on Nick Fowler, fresh off breaking the Arizona Trail record. You should check that out. I mean, his trip report's pretty good, and of course this podcast. Also his book, Itch, about his record on the Pacific Northwest Trail. He broke my record there, and I got to write the foreword in his book, which was pretty cool. But now that I think about it, writing a foreword in the book about breaking your record, that's pretty funny. Okay, so Nick Fowler, we talked to him. It's a really fun conversation. You should check it out. Also, a few housekeeping things. We have a Patreon now, patreon.com/freeoutside. I got faster internet and a better microphone and just upgrading some stuff because this podcast is doing well, getting people on. I vowed to make it through 50 episodes and see if I liked it, if the direction was good, if people were enjoying it, and it seems like you guys are. So with that, you can donate to Patreon as little as $5 a month. I'm going to put some bonus content and things on there, so don't you worry. It'll be worth it, hopefully. And 5-star reviews anywhere you're listening. That always helps. Liking, subscribing if you're on YouTube, that kind of thing. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much. This is the interview with Nick Fowler. We are good friends, so it starts a little slow, but don't worry. It's a fun one. You should listen. There's so many nuggets at the end, too, I promise. I tried to ask him all the things that if I'd never said an FKT but wanted to in the future, you could learn, you could get like a master class here. So that's how I tried to approach it. I hope that proves useful for you guys. That's sort of the interview style I feel like I've adopted over the last month or so, is have fun, joke, but also there's lots of good nuggets of information where I think a lot of shows will interview someone but not get like that specific. So I like asking about the calories per hour, how things about sleep, hours per night, wrong turns, how do you know, all the things that you could maybe take forward and be successful on your own. And I hope you value that and that's helpful. Also, it should be just entertaining. Okay, here is Nick Fowler. Today we have on our first ever returning guest, Nick Fowler, just to check in on his hair. But fresh off the Arizona Trail, how's the recovery process been? How's the processing of it all?
I'm still exhausted and I'm still sore. Today's great though. Today's been great. Like last week I was trash. Yesterday I was trash. I'll probably be trash in 2 hours. Right now is a really good moment. I have lots of caffeine in my system and I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. Do you just try to put weight back on immediately after or just sleep a ton? But now that you're a dad, you can't really do a ton.
I mean, I've been eating a ton. That's doable. Dude, it's crazy. Yesterday I had a dozen donuts. I had 2 pizzas, and a whole bunch of other snacks in between. I had some healthy stuff too. I mean, I was eating fruit and I'm eating all day long and I'm still losing weight. Like that's how high my metabolism is right now. This morning I was 1 pound less than I was yesterday and I ate probably like 10 pounds of food.
How much did you lose on the trail in total?
On the trail or to date total?
How about to date? Yeah. Because you're still losing?
Yeah, I'm still losing. I lost 15 pounds on the trail and as of today, I'm 20 pounds down.
Wow. Okay, let's dive into the trail. But first, I love this piece that you wrote in your report. You said, I attempted a 70-mile day in Arkansas and stopped to sleep at mile 43, feeling defeated and completely unprepared. But you never know what's possible until you try. So how did you decide you were still going to go after the Arizona Trail after not feeling great headed in?
That's a good question. So I've been thinking about the Arizona Trail FKT ever since I hiked it in 2023. And when I did the Oregon Coast Trail FKT in June earlier this year, it was in preparation for the Arizona Trail because I wanted to know what 60 miles a day felt like. And then, the baby came, leading up to the baby. I was not training at all. Actually, I take that back. Once Canyon was born, I had a routine when I would go into the living room. I would do 25 single leg squats while holding Canyon. And then, no, the kitchen was single leg squats and the living room was calf raises. So that was my training. I did calf raises while holding canyon, and I did single leg squats while holding canyon. And so I went to Arkansas to kind of get a break from dad life, to, you know, immerse myself back in the woods and see if I still had this in me or not. And first of all, it was extremely dry. So, I mean, in 50 miles, I drank from 2 water puddles. The bugs were horrendous. Like, it was, I was pretty miserable. And when I stopped to sleep at mile 43, I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to do 60 miles a day for 13 days in a row if I can't even do 70 miles in Arkansas? So I bailed on that. And luckily, I had another friend that went out and hiked the exact same section that I did. And he was like, I quit after 17 miles. Because, I mean, it was extremely unmaintained. There was blowdowns everywhere. It was a very rough trail. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's not just me. And I was on and off about the Arizona Trail because there was all these fires out there, and I wanted a clean record. I didn't want any fire detours. I mean, like, I had a clean PCT with no fire reroutes. So I wanted a clean AZT. Like, there's no excuse to not have a clean AZT if you had a clean PCT. And so Hannah's been amazing. She's been so supportive, so encouraging, still telling me to go after it. And so I went out to the Arizona Trail and still unsure. But I was like, I'm gonna go out to the desert, and I'll do, you know, a couple 50-mile days and see what I feel like after that. And, you know, I did a couple, you know, 40, 50-mile days out on the Arizona Trail in preparation. I was like, okay, all right, that was easier than Arkansas.
Yeah.
Which is mind-blowing. Like, Arkansas is little. And then I decided, hey, well, you know, I already have all my boxes packed. I already have them mailed out. Everything's in place. Like, let's just see what happens. The hard part was announcing it, because the premier route, and you're supposed to announce the premier route attempts. And I was so unsure about myself. The least I'd ever trained or prepared for any FKT.
So you get 2 days of training, and then you go for it, and then it didn't go well on the first attempt either.
No. Oh, it was awful. Well, day 1 went well. I did 65 miles by like 9:26 p.m. on day 1. You know, slept at the border of the Grand Canyon National Park, and then day 2, crossing the Grand Canyon, defeated me. I mean, I was puking my guts out, curled up in the fetal position in the middle of the trail. One of my miles climbing out of the canyon took 2 hours and 20 minutes.
For 1 mile.
For 1 mile.
And the day before, you did 65 miles in like 20 hours or something.
Yeah, and I'm just like, at first, when I first started puking, I was like, okay, it's only 7 miles up South Kaibab. I'll just take my time, and then it's flat, and I'll recover. And then I just kept tanking and kept tanking and kept tanking. And I mean, I got to the point where, I mean, like, I'm curled up in like these tiny little shade spots, and hikers in flip-flops are passing me. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? And then, I mean, eventually a family from Phoenix were like, we're going to stay with you because we don't think you're going to make it out of the canyon. And one of the guys' name, he was August. He goes by Gus. He's going to school in Flagstaff. He had to carry my backpack for me, and they stayed with me and helped me get out of the canyon while him carrying my backpack, because if I was carrying my backpack, I could only make it like 100 yards before I'd have to stop and lay down again.
So, you know, the FKT attempt is over. What do you think through? What are the options once you finally do get yourself out of that canyon?
I was mainly just focused on, I was really motivated to get to a restaurant. I was like, if I get to a restaurant, I'll be okay. Like, I mean, okay health-wise, not okay FKT-wise. The FKT was off. And I was mad at myself. I was like, dang it, why did I announce? I should have waited 2 days. Like, this is so embarrassing. Now I have to tell the world that I failed.
Yeah. I did like how you told us you had like the picture of the sign that's like, don't bring too little water. People have dehydration issues. And you're like, yep, that was me.
Yeah, it was definitely me. So I took 2 days off, got a hitch to Flagstaff, stayed with the Trail Angel in Flagstaff, They fed me some amazing hot soup. Had a warm bed to sleep in. Took a shower, and then the next day I was feeling somewhat better. And I was like, man, I'm already out here. Like, I mean, here's the thing. Like, in my head, I was thinking, if I'm leaving Canyon, I have to do something epic. Like, I can't just come out here for nothing. And so, like, my motivation, like, skyrocketed after that. I was like, no, I'm not done. So I rested 2 days, and then I restarted.
All the boxes and everything were still in place for resupplying and everything?
Yeah, because I hadn't even resupplied once yet. I mean, I had to buy some more food and Flagstaff and replenish my starting food. But yeah, everything else was already in place, and
then you just get a ride back to the start, and then you begin again.
Yeah. I got a hitch to the dirt road to go down to the state line, and then I was walking the 10 miles to get to the trailhead, and then some other day hikers gave me a hitch the rest of the way.
And then you camp there, and then you start at 2 a.m. Nice. And then so this time you're dialed. There's no lingering doubt from the Grand Canyon disaster?
No lingering. I did get slightly nervous the night before because like the weather window was getting pretty bad, and I was like, crap, did I miss my chance? Like, so I was really nervous. So there was supposed to be a bad snow coming in. I mean, like there was already 10 miles of snow on the North Kaibab Plateau, and there was supposed to be more snow coming in if I'd started, on the day I started, I had to be off the plateau by like 6 a.m. the next day. Otherwise I was going to get hit in another snowstorm. So that was my motivation, was like, just get into the canyon before snow hits and then take it day by day from there.
Yeah. And so you throw down 2 pretty epic 70+ mile days, but that actually threw off your resupply. You were going faster than your plan.
Yeah. It did mess up my resupply plan, because originally I was going to be resupplying at the Conoco gas station in Flagstaff on my 4th day, and it was going to be like, middle of the day, so I didn't have to worry about them being open or closed. But then since I was going faster than I was planning, I realized that I had to get there on my 3rd night. Otherwise I'd be waiting for them to open in the morning the next day. And I mean, I was getting tired at the end of the day. So, I mean, once the sun goes down, I'm not moving quite as fast, and, did the math to make sure I got there in time. And when I was like a half mile away, they closed in 5 minutes. And I'm like, no. And so I called the gas station and I bribed the clerk $20 to stay open till I got there.
And then did you just buy things out of the gas station to eat? What was your resupply strategy?
It was an extremely fast resupply. Like, he had already turned off all the hot food machines and like the hot chocolate. It was really cold. I was really wanting some hot chocolate. But all the hot stuff was already turned off. So basically I was like, okay, I need at least 300 calories an hour for the next 4 days. So I was like, okay, so 20 items a day for 4 days. And I was just like, like how in gas stations, they have like everything hanging up on the rack.
Yeah.
So I was like grabbing the whole, everything that was hanging on the rack. Like, okay, all of that's 8 items. All of that's 8 items. All of that's 8 items. All of that. Like, I was clearing out sections. Thank goodness the Conoco resupply was the first resupply, because if it was the opposite direction and I was finishing on the crap food, that would have been really hard.
Okay. Yeah, so you didn't really care what the food was. It was just anything you could buy, and you're probably feeling a little anxiety because this clerk wants to close.
Yeah, I was trying to go as fast as possible.
But no plan on what you were going to buy ahead of time, really?
Well, I did have plans of getting a lot of hot food, but that was not an option. So, I mean, I did focus, like, I got, lots of jerky, chips, candy, honey buns. I mean, what else can you plan for at a gas station?
Yeah, no, not a whole lot. Yeah. And I mean, that's the most efficient place to resupply, and you just got to use what's there.
Yeah.
Where were you getting to from there? Was it like Pine?
No. So when I hiked the AZT in 2023 slow style, I had a bad experience with my resupply, because that brewery, which is actually named That Brewery. I'm not just saying That Brewery.
Yeah.
Like my package said it had been delivered, But when your package is delivered to that brewery, it does not mean it's delivered to that brewery. It means it's been delivered to the post office, and then the brewery takes their sweet time picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
And if I, worst case scenario, had to go to the post office, one, my hours are, more limited, and it's like almost like closer to a mile to go all the way into Pine.
Yep.
And I didn't want to add 2 miles round trip, so I went all the way to Roosevelt.
Okay. Wow. On junk food.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. And so I guess like let's just zoom out as like the nutrition plan in general. Like you had a box at Roosevelt, I'm sure, and started off with stuff. What was your plan? What were you eating when you got to choose and mail yourself stuff?
Half healthy stuff, half junk food.
Okay.
So I had Rec Pack protein shakes, which is actually probably my saving grace. That was probably the best thing that I had out there that actually fueled me.
So I actually talked to Rec Pack and got a 25% off code for you guys to use if you want to try it out. Worked for Nick Fowler, said it was great. So it's recpak.co, Rec Pack with 1 C and 1 K, different words, recpak.co. And the promo code is FREEOUTSIDE25. So you guys can get 25% off if you want to try it. There you go.
I also had some Huel protein shakes. I had lots of coconut creamer coffees that were, like 100 calories a piece. I had quite a bit of liquid calories. I had Tailwind, pink lemonade, and then I had my famous oatmeal recipe that I've made. That's 800 calories a pop. Cheez-Its, crackers, candy. Eventually I was eating 600 calories an hour.
Wow. You started out at 300 though, ish?
Yeah.
Okay. When did you up it? Because this is similar to the PCT style, right?
Yeah.
Where you upped it slowly over time.
I upped it about halfway. So,
okay.
I think my first day after Roosevelt, I wasn't quite to 600 calories an hour, but I think around Superior is when my hiker hunger like kicked in full swing and I was devouring everything. Like every 30 minutes, I was eating 300 calories.
Wow. That's incredible. And then how are you using caffeine throughout the FKT as well? Or are you limiting caffeine?
Yeah, I was using it.
Using it from like day one?
Yeah.
Okay. Like late in the day or just whenever you needed it? How are you managing tiredness when you're doing 70s?
Man, my sleep was crap out there. So, I usually started off with a little bit of caffeine in the morning to wake me up because, as you probably know, your first hour or so is really slow in the morning.
It's rough. It's like the worst hour.
Yeah. So I kind of like gave myself a little jolt in the beginning to try and boost that. And then at the end, the rest of it, I was trying to save for once the sun went down.
Yeah. Did you taper caffeine going into the event? Or into the effort?
No.
Didn't care.
I have a baby.
Yeah, dad life. You gotta have caffeine to survive.
I'm drinking caffeine right now.
Yeah, and it's only 3:30 there. So, okay, I guess with this huge mileage, like the most anyone's ever done self-supported, did you have a spreadsheet or how are you knowing when you're going to get to like Roosevelt to resupply, like that you're going to be pushing it for the Conoco? Are you just doing that math in your head or did you have all this planned out? Because I'm assuming you're exceeding your expectations with miles.
I was exceeding my expectations. Who would have ever thought I would have averaged 70 miles a day for my first 4 days? Like, where did that come from? I know it's easy in the northern 300 miles, but dang. What was your question?
Oh, about how you're figuring to hit like Roosevelt in time or Conoco or planning out these stops.
Yeah, so I only resupplied 3 times, the Conoco and Roosevelt and then Lemon. Now the good news is Roosevelt. So I wasn't the only thing I was worried about was Conoco, which originally I was not worried about.
Because you're going to hit it midday, but you're too fast.
Yeah. But the other two, Roosevelt, like you can call ahead and like pay the $10 for your box over the phone and they'll leave it outside for you. So I wasn't worried about that one. And then the same thing with general store. Like if you call ahead to the Lemon General Store, if you're too late, they'll leave it outside for you as well. So I wasn't too worried about timing on the second 2 resupplies.
Okay. And both of those are boxes, so you just had that Conoco to purchase yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. And so let's dive into the sleep aspect. So you get it probably 4 to 5 hours of downtime, but it sounds like your legs were so destroyed you couldn't sleep well.
Yeah. The first 3 nights, I was off my feet for maybe 5 hours. But yeah, I was aching so bad. Like, I was thinking, are these 70-mile days a mistake? Like, I can't sleep. Like, I'm hurting so bad. Just squirming all night long. And then plus, like, it was like 23 degrees in the morning. Like, all my water bottles were frozen. The nozzle, morning of day 2, the nozzle on my primary water bottle froze and broke. So, like, if I leaned over, water
would pour out.
Yeah, water would leak out.
And are these soft flasks that you're using, or what kind of bottles?
I had one Smart Water 1 liter bottle. I had an Ultraspire it's like a soft but hard bottle.
Yeah.
And then I had a protein shake mixer bottle.
Okay. Yeah, so before we move into the second half, which will be insane, let's day 3 or 4, what's the structure of a 70-mile day? Like, when are you getting up? Are you trying to have a certain number of miles in by a certain time and then take a break? How are you breaking up a day? Are you running downhills?
I run the downhills and run the flats.
Nice.
And no breaks.
No breaks. And then when are you getting up in the morning?
Usually 3 a.m.
And everything you're going to eat is in like the front of your pack or accessible for the whole day?
100%, yeah.
And then do you pack that the morning of or the night before?
In between. Tonight's pillow is tomorrow's food.
Totally. Okay, cool.
So just wake up in the morning and grab your pillow and start moving.
Yep, perfect. All right, let's dive into water, since it sounds like you might have had an issue out there with some water or filter gear.
Well, normally I don't filter that much.
Not on the PCT, yeah.
No, but the Arizona Trail is full of cow patties.
Mm-hmm.
So I did plan on filtering a lot out there, but on day 4, maybe it was day 5, like my filter was clogged to zero flow. Like absolute, like I could squeeze as hard as I could, nothing would come out. And so I'm like, all right, well, guess I'm drinking water 3 feet from a cow patty.
Yeah, well, you can't sacrifice time to figure it out either, because every second counts out there.
Right, yeah. I mean, like, and here's the thing. Like, after I was 3 days in, I'm like, dude, I only have single-digit days left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I only have 9 days left. Like, wow, this is great.
Yeah. And did you know you're going for the overall from the start, or did that change a few days in?
I wanted the overall, but I didn't know what I would be capable of because of how little training I did. So I was okay with less if it came down to less.
Totally.
But I wanted the overall.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Joe. I know I told you I was only going after Josh's record, but I was going after yours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a different stratosphere ago when I went for it, but I was definitely going for the overall too.
Yeah.
But it's way slower than what you said. Yeah. So I guess now we get into day 5 and 6. You're exhausted. Your filter doesn't work. You're hitting the, however you say it, the mazatols, I think. Is this when it starts to get hard? Really hard? Because this is when the mileage seemed to drop down too.
Man, I was so disappointed whenever I got less than 60 miles. I mean, it was 70. It was 73 within the first 24 hours, and then it was 70, and then it was 67, and then it was 70, and then I did 65, and then in the Mazatls I did 55 before I gave up for the day. I mean, it was a crazy heavy rainstorm, sideways rain. I was losing my way in the washes, like where all the cairns are.
Mm-hmm.
I kept going down the wrong wash, and then there would be like a drop off. Like, I'm like, wait, I'm hiking. I'm not canyoneering. This is not the right way.
Yeah.
And I'd turn around and my pace was slowing down because of the rain. And eventually I was like, well, maybe if I just go to sleep now, it won't be raining in the morning when I wake up. And so I decided to go to sleep early. and I started moving at 1 a.m. to try and make up for the difference. But the rain was so crazy. Like when I'm pitching my tarp, like it's so windy. I'm struggling to get my tent stakes in, struggling to get the right pitch. So all my gear is getting soaking wet.
Yeah.
Eventually I get it pitched and I climb underneath it, and it's so windy, one of my tent stakes comes out of the ground, and so like my whole thing collapses and I have to get out from underneath it, get soaking wet again. And so my quilt gets soaking wet. Like soaking wet. And it's freezing cold.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Perry asked me, he's like, what are you going to do? What are you doing about the rain? Because there was Mooch, another a girl was out there trying to go for the self-supported record, and she was like, ask Nick what he's doing about the rain.
Oh,
she's like, all my gear's wet. And so Josh asked me, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I only have 7 more days left. There is no time to wait. Like, just go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing about the rain. And but my quilt was wet the remainder of the trip. And so I mean, like I think maybe the rest of the trip I maybe had 2 nights that were not below freezing. The rest were below freezing in a soaking wet 30-degree quilt.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course I was slowing down towards the end. So I think I probably only got 3 hours of sleep the remainder of the trip with a cold, wet quilt. So was it 3 hours of sleep? No, I don't know what it was, but it was something.
Okay. So you get, I mean, wet to say the very least, and cold. Do you even try to dry it out like on your pack or something throughout the day? Does anything come to mind, or not worried about it?
No. I mean, there's so many spiky things in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to rip it.
Yeah.
And so now the night between Superior and Kearney, I was like, okay, it's really dry here. So I slept in my quilt, not inside my bivvy, like hoping that it would dry out.
Yeah.
And it did dry out some that night. And I was like, score, awesome, I've got a dry quilt again. And then the next night was like 20 miles from the base of Lemon, and there was so much snow and so much rain from the storms the last couple of days that it was extremely humid, and quilt just got soaking wet with condensation again. And I'm like, yeah, I only have like 3 or 4 days left, so F it.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that makes sense why sleep got even worse. So now we're in like the last third of the trip. Are you starting to hallucinate? Because now you've probably had 3 hours of sleep for over a week in a row.
I did not hallucinate.
The whole trail.
No. I mean, like there were some times where like you see a stick and you think it's a snake, or...
Oh, that's just life, right?
Yeah.
I get that all the time.
I don't think that's hallucination.
Yeah. No hallucinations.
No, but I did see 2 desert tortoises, which was freaking awesome. I sacrificed 7 minutes to get an epic video of this tortoise. Like,
so you're saying there's 7 minutes still out there for someone to lower that record?
no, there's way more than 7 minutes left. I not including the lost missed turns and the Mazatzals. Mm-hmm. I added 11 bonus miles from missed turns. Now that's how tired I was. I was missing turns left and right the last 4 days.
Totally. Yeah, I remember reading that on your Instagram, how it was just like 4 bonus miles, 2 bonus miles, 6 bonus miles.
Oh, it pissed me off so much. The last time when I added on 4 bonus miles coming down from Micah, mm-hmm. I went all the way down the mountain on the wrong trail. And then I see a house. I'm like, what the heck? Dude, I don't remember a house last year here. Like, where the hell did this house come? So I pull out my map and I'm like, no. I said a few F-bombs. I screamed a little bit. But I will tell you, that lit a fire under my butt. I sprinted up the mountain, 2 miles up the mountain, like at like 6 miles per hour with my pack on. And by the time I got up to Micah and then back down, I was only 30 minutes behind schedule.
Wow.
That's how fast I was running from missing those miles.
So, and outside of this one, how would you realize that you'd gone down the wrong path? Does it just not look right and you pull out your phone, or what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, I get down and I get down off the mountain and there's a house.
Well, how about like just randomly in the I don't know, the other times that it happened, how are you even realizing or being awake enough to know you're going the wrong way?
Oh, yeah. Like the first one I missed, I was supposed to take a turn, but I ended up following a wash.
Oh, super easy. Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I'm like, I don't remember being on a road for this long next to the Gila River. And so then I look at my map and you know, like sometimes you pull up far out and like it shows your dot and like sometimes the GPS is off and you have to wait for a second for it to like really figure out where you're at.
Yep.
So and I'm like, so it pulls up and I'm nowhere near a red line. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I just got to wait 30 seconds and then it'll update, and it's not updating. And I'm like, what? And it's like a panic moment. And so I like zoom out and I'm like way far away from the red line. I'm like, how the hell am I over here? What the hell? Oh, it was awful. And then I missed 2 more turns that same day.
Yeah. To read it from your trip report here, it says, lost another 1.2 miles, wrong turn. Missed another turn equals 0.8 more bonus miles. Guess I'm still tired because I've added on 5 miles from missed turns today. So that's how day 9 went, it sounds like.
Yeah, it sucks. And then, and then the next day crossing Lemon destroyed me.
Yeah. What happened on Lemon? I mean, that's a harder side to climb up it. I've only done that side in training, but I think.
It's steep and it's rocky and
like it's the only place on the whole trail where the ground is like, it's like cat litter on hard pack or something. Like footing sucks.
Man, I swear trails are so much easier when you're hiking slow. Like I was like, I remember this being beautiful in 2023. Why is this destroying me? And plus I was getting really tired. And and then you made that reel.
Oh, okay. At this time?
This time. And I watched that reel at the, once I get to Summer Haven, and I rewatched that reel afterwards and I didn't get near as emotional afterwards. But in the moment, man, the music that you chose and like, how inspiring it was. Oh my gosh, I lost it. I was crying my eyes out.
I know you sent me videos of you crying.
I was bawling like a baby. And then the sun comes out and it's beautiful and it's like beaming. And then like my whole mood changes and I'm like laughing and I'm having a good time again. And then going down, what's that steep section going down the top of Lemon on the...
It's like the Trail of Rocks, but that's just one of the parts of it.
The Wilderness Rocks? Something
like that.
The Wilderness Rocks is kind of hard to navigate it in its own, but then it's like that steep ridge going down. I don't remember what it's called, but it's falling.
Usually pretty overgrown too. Yeah.
My legs were so tired. I was like, in how steep the drop-offs were, like I fell a lot. Like my legs were starting to get wobbly, and it was 5 degrees with wind chill up there.
Wow.
And I'm like, I have a wet quilt. And I'm like, I have to get down to lower elevation to get some decent sleep. And so I get down to like 4,300 feet, like near Hutchins Pools. And then I get down into a wash, and where there's like another side trail coming up, and I accidentally got onto the side trail. Then I notice I'm on the side trail, and so I turn around to go back to the main one. But I'm so tired, I end up getting back on the trail I just came from, and I go backwards another it was almost a mile backwards in the wrong direction. And I'm like, man, I should be there, like by my goal. I should be able to sleep by now. And I look at my map and I'm like, I'm going the wrong way.
Oh my God. Man. So I guess that's how your sleeplessness manifests itself, is just the worst directional awareness ever.
It was awful. I've never missed turns like this before.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so now you're like 2 days from the end or so, 2-ish, and you have Micah in front of you, and it looks like, or it sounds like it's snow. There was already snow on top of Micah, and you're losing your mind?
Oh yeah, I think there was like at least 5 miles of snow on Micah. But it was easy. Like compared to the snow in 2023, the snow was nothing this time. Like there was boot tracks in front of me. I wasn't post holing. I didn't need snowshoes. So it wasn't bad. And Micah was actually much easier than I was expecting. Like I knew it was really steep, but it was over really fast. And I mean, I still did 64 miles that day.
Yeah.
I could only count 60 because 4 of those were wrong turns.
Typical.
But I made it to the other side of I-10 that same day. So I went from halfway down Lemon to the other side of I-10.
Wow. And now is your mindset completely on, I can break the overall record? And then do you have a certain goal in mind, or where's your mind at with a couple days left?
I don't know where my mind was. I was so tired. Jeff. I mean, so historically, I never finish trails the way I want to. Like I always envision like pulling an all-nighter and just like, I'm going to do 100 miles in my last push, But I didn't slack off. That's not what I'm saying here, but I had to sleep that night. I had to. I knew I wanted sub 13 days. It was just a matter of how much below 13 days it was going to be.
Yeah. And are you still able to do the math on like when you need to be up and moving, how much time you have, or is your brain gone and you're just kind of going on vibes at this point?
Oh, I was 2 answers to that question. One, I was kind of in like fried autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just moving, not really. I mean, I knew I was only getting 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
That or 3.5. That wasn't a question. I mean, I knew I only had one more day left. But I also, so at the end of the PCT, I try to learn something from every FKT. I want to get better. I want to get really good at this one day. And so at the end of the PCT, I was so fried I couldn't think. I could not do math. Like I knew I had lost sub 50 days, and I knew that was completely shot. But I couldn't think what was possible, like with the final 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had been able to do the math, I would have been able to go faster. I would have been able to break Carl Saba's original supported record. But because I couldn't do math and I was too fried to think, I was 52 minutes slower than his time. So this time, I had someone that knew the trail, that was good at math, that knew hiking, on standby, ready to do math for me. And
you outsourced math.
I did. I know it was self-supported, but I had a virtual team. Like I had several people on standby ready to make phone calls to talk me out of negative mindset. I had, if I started crying, I had a few people that I could call to help snap me out of that. People to, help keep me awake at night, although I was running out of battery power at the end, so I couldn't really utilize that because I had to make sure I reserved it for the end. Mm-hmm. But I had someone doing math for me saying, like, you can average, X. At one point, like in my final day, she was like, you can average 43 miles per day and still break the supported record. She's like, you can average 26 miles per day and still break the self-supported record. She's like, or, you could do this. And she's like, or you could do 75 miles a day and do sub 12 days. I'm like, well, that ain't happening.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
And so I guess on that last day, are you like excited, relieved, zombie walking? How does it go? Because you got to finish at a reasonable hour too.
Zombie, man, Miller is harder than I remembered. Oh my God.
But it's so close to the end.
It is. I would try to run and then I would fall. And then I would try to run and then I would fall. And then it's so steep and so rocky. And I wasn't able to run at the end until like the final 2 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Because
after the road.
Yeah, after the road, it starts to not be so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew my friend Kat was at the very end. And she's amazing. She contacted Border Patrol and got permission to park a 1/4 mile from the monument. Yeah, so she sent me a message. She's like, hey, I'm parked a 1/4 mile from the monument. When you're done, you don't have to hike 2 miles back up the mountain. She's like, so you don't have to reserve any energy. Just freaking go.
Nice.
And so like, oh my God, Jeff. I mean, and so I knew she was going to be there. She said that there was possibly going to be some other people there to help celebrate the finish. So I didn't know who was going to be at the end. I just knew Kat was going to be there. And so I'm running. And I keep expecting to see lights like around the corner. Like I know someone's over there. And then all of a sudden I see like her red headlamp light and I see her cheering because she sees me coming down the mountain. And then that fired me up some more. And so I'm like running. And then all of a sudden I see candle lights laid out on the ground, spelling out my name and AZT FKT.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, and it's like so special, so emotional. And, you know, I'm running. And finally I touch the monument. I take a picture to snap a timestamp for the end. And then I immediately just laid down on the ground with my backpack still on. And I just bawled. Like, I just lost it. Like, I'm done. I was so ready to be done.
Yeah.
I was so tired.
And then what? Then do you crawl to the car, go get a hotel, back to real life?
I actually stayed at the monument for maybe an hour, trying to like soak it in. This is the first time I've ever stayed at a monument at the end of a trail, soaking it in. Normally I'm just ready to go. But so then we walked the quarter mile to her car, and dude, I mean, it's insane how you can move. And then once you're done, you can't.
Yeah. It's over.
My feet hurt so bad. This is the worst my feet have ever hurt when not even standing on them.
Wow. And you couldn't even walk after the PNT from your book, Itch, anywhere books are sold.
That's the worst my arches have ever hurt when walking on them.
Yeah.
But this is the worst they've ever hurt when not even walking. And, you know, we get to her car. She brought like hot food. She brought like hot chai tea. My wife mailed her a box, like, so I could open up a present at the end, since Hannah's normally the one at the end of my trails and so celebrating. But since we have Canyon, she stayed at home taking care of him. And I mean, we drove back to Kat's house in Tucson, which is like over a 2-hour drive. And I mean, I was fried. I was laying down in the back of her truck, unable to move. I don't remember what happened the next 2 days, except for the fact that Kat took care of me when I was completely 100% wrecked. She was making fun of me because I was crawling across her house to get to the bathroom, eating so much food.
Yeah. Wow. And then you finally fly home and get to celebrate with Hannah in Canyon.
I drove home.
You drove by yourself?
It was bad. I mean, I rested in Arizona for, I don't know if it was 3 or 5 days. I don't know. I was so wrecked. I couldn't think the first few days. And then my feet just hurt so bad. And then Kat is amazing. She drove me all the way back up to my car. So state line, there's a 14-day parking limit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I parked my car. But in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going to finish this trail in 13 days. So I'm within the 14-day limit.
Yep.
And then we get to my car, and it's a 15-hour drive from Flagstaff back to my house. And so I'm thinking, normally I would, try to do that in one day, but I'm like, there's no possible way I can do that in one day. I mean, I stopped to sleep at like 7 p.m.
I bet. Yeah.
I didn't even make it out of Arizona.
That's how wrecked you were.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some more general questions that I think are interesting. So how did you manage keeping your phone charged and I think you had 3 headlamps and a waist light. How did you keep all that charged with 3 resupplies?
Lots and lots of battery banks that were already pre-charged.
Okay. And so did you start out with a lot to get all the way to Roosevelt?
Yes.
Okay. And then changed them out every resupply from there?
Yeah, and I just threw them away. I wasted a lot of money.
But you would have wasted...
They weren't the expensive Nightcore ones. I got like cheap, like $20 ones.
Yeah. No, I think you did similar on the PCT. So and then how did you plan it out for like the general concept where you wanted to get in resupplies? Are you a spreadsheet person? Are you just like look at it on far out now? How do you plan it out ahead of time to know what you're shooting for?
A combination of spreadsheets and just looking at the map,
mm-hmm.
and leaning on what I learned from the trail in 2023.
Okay. Yeah. And what were your big 3? Everyone wants to know.
My big 3?
Your pack, your quilt, and your shelter.
Shelter.
Yeah, not much of shelter.
So I tried a lot of new stuff on this one that I have not used on the previous one. So I took a 15-liter Solomon Cross season running vest. which is 15 liters, very generous. Like, I think that's more of like a 17 or 18 liter pack.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I couldn't fit all my stuff in just that pack, so I had to add a bunch of pockets to it. So I added 2 pockets to the front. I added 1, 2, 3 pockets to the bottom back that were still accessible on the go. And one was a 2 liter, 3. So I added 4 liters of capacity to the back. And then I also had to strap another dry sack right here so that I could fit everything in that pack. But it was comfortable. There was way more pockets up front. Everything was way more accessible on the go.
It probably made running way more comfortable and easier too.
It did, because it was way more evenly distributed. I had a ton more weight up front.
Yeah. And you also had new poles or different poles, right?
I did. Now, I have to thank Trent Benford Walsh for that. He's the guy that got the PCT FKT the week before I did last year, like completely under the radar. Super cool guy. He gave those to me. He was like, I'm done with FKTs. I'm not doing this anymore. You can have these. But they're $200 Lecky poles.
Yeah.
I would have never bought those myself. Way too expensive. So thank you, Trent. I really appreciate that. Those really work.
They're super light too.
Super light. They're super fast to deploy. I also added to the running vest. I added 2 quivers. I added, quiver on this side for the trekking poles, and I had a quiver on this side for my 1 liter smart water bottle.
Wow. You're like a ninja out there.
Yeah, I was like, I'm Robin Hood.
That would be so fun to be pulling out poles like that late in an FKT, just like be a superhero every time.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting part. So I thought, man, Jeff, I've been really working hard on not losing stuff on trail. Okay. Like really hard. I lost my sun hat at like somewhere in the Mazatzals in that rainstorm. So I finished the rest of the trail like in the hot desert section with no sun hat. Like my face is just cooking. But I thought I lost my toothbrush on like day 3. Maybe it was day 2. But I thought I lost that. And then someone, well, it's only, less than 10 days. Big whoop-de-doo. Like, we'll just brush our teeth extra when we're done.
Twice a day for a month to make up for it.
Yeah. But here's the crazy part. On the very last day, or maybe it was the second to last day, it was within the last like 70 miles somewhere. I don't remember where exactly, but I pull my trekking poles out and out flings my toothbrush kit. How did it get in there?
I mean, that is you always call it a superpower, but that's what it is. It's like you can lose things so well that you find them. Like, you trick yourself.
It was crazy. So yeah, it was nice to brush my teeth on the last day.
Yeah. And then how about quilt and tarp? What kind of
30-degree catabatic quilts. And the tarp was Z-Pac's pocket tarp with doors.
Okay. Yeah, I would have thought you'd make your own, but I guess Z-Packs has some decent enough tarps.
Yeah, so the original Z-Pac's pocket tarp with doors is only 6.1 ounces, but I've removed a couple guy lines from it, and it's only 4.7 ounces now.
Nice. And you didn't even have to set it up every night, it sounds like, but didn't work that well either.
I only pitched it 2 nights.
And it worked really well.
It worked well the second night I had to pitch it. It did not work. Well, and also it was probably the place that I pitched it. Like it was in really hard ground that was hard to get my tent stakes in the ground.
Yeah.
But I've been through some pretty heavy rainstorms in that tarp, and it's worked well for me.
Fair. I mean, it's hard to pitch a tent in the Mazatzals anyways, so
yeah,
fair enough.
I mean, it was in the middle of the trail.
Yeah. What would you change if you were, or what could you have done better? What would you have improved on as overall? Did you go out too hot? Was gear messy? Would you have done something different? Would you have not failed 2 days prior, puked?
Yeah, I mean, I am kind of curious. Like, I don't know if the 100-mile warm-up, imagine doing a 100-mile race.
Yeah.
Resting 2 days and then going running 800 miles.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
I don't know if that was good or if it was bad, because it gave me a giant boost of hunger. And so I think I was fueling properly from the get-go on the second attempt. But I also still had a little bit of fatigue in my legs.
Yeah, it's interesting if the new styles like do 100 miles and then go for your FKT.
I don't know. I wasn't nauseous on the second round, so I guess that helped. Another thing, I'm strongly considering moving to a synthetic quilt, because at the end of the PCT, with 5 days ago, my quilt got wet, and I finished, with 5 days of sleeping in a wet quilt, and then same thing with the AZT. It seems to be a pattern of my quilt getting wet, and I just don't take the time to dry it out, and so I get crap sleep. And so I'm really considering moving to a synthetic quilt, so that's not a problem. I had some major chafing problems in the first half.
You are Captain Chafe.
I thought I had solved all chafing problems because I didn't have any chafing problems on the PCT. But apparently when you bump it up from 50 miles a day to 70 miles a day, it creates new chafing problems. And so, yeah, day 3, I was hiking naked. Day 4, I ran into some people.
While naked?
I had a shirt on.
But no pants?
No.
That is weirder than being naked, I think.
And then I ran into some more people in the Mazatzals. Now as soon as I saw them, I jumped off trail into the bushes and sat down, and I was like, hang on. Let me put my shorts back on.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not sure if they saw anything or what happened, or if I caught it quick enough, but yeah, that's what happened. Now I discovered the problem was not what I was using, or yes, it was. I was using too much lubrication.
Whoa.
And so it made my underwear extremely nasty. And then the nasty underwear is what was causing the chafing. And so luckily when I got to my next resupply, I had fresh underwear that was not nasty, and I stopped using lubrication, and then everything was fine.
We do not want to take those last couple sentences out of context. That's pretty good.
No, yeah. Yeah, watch out if the media.
Yeah.
Flips
No,
that
I
wrong way.
mean, it's such an incredible record, and just so cool how you got it. I mean, it's just so fast for the Arizona Trail. Have you even comprehended what you did out there?
Jeff, I think that the AZT can be done sub 12 days self-supported. There's a lot of improvement on what I did out there. It's interesting, on the morning of day 10, it's I lost motivation. And it's I stopped caring for 4 hours. I wasn't going to stop, but it was I lost my motivation to grind. And I think, oh man, the sunrises and sunsets out there are just stupid pretty in the desert. So I think it stemmed from, one, I was exhausted. But then I passed 3 hikers that were cowboy camping really close together, and they were sitting up in their quilts watching the sunrise. And I passed them, and I'm like, I would so much rather be just sitting watching the sunrise with my son. And instead, I'm out here doing 65 miles a day, exhausted and miserable, and then 4 hours later, I'm having fun again. But I mean, if I never lost the motivation for those 4 hours, I would have moved faster. If I had better sleep, I would have moved faster. If I didn't add on 11 miles from missed turns. So maybe I don't know how to fix that one. Maybe just get better sleep.
Well, I think if I look at it from a few different sides, I think the grit and the desire probably was more than anything else you've done on this trail, but maybe the training was lower, and that flowed into less sleep, which impacted the wrong turns and the leg fatigue at night. It's almost like this triangle or something.
Oh yeah, I had zero training. I did not have zero training. I had some training, but the least training I have had on any other FKT I've ever done.
Totally. And I think that's why your legs would just lock up at night. Just many, we're done with the day, we're just going to start hurting now. That's why the mornings suck too.
Oh, it did. They sucked bad. So yeah, more training, obviously. Why didn't I say that one?
Well, no, I just think it's interesting. I think that shows your grit, determination, and I don't know, mental ability to get through it with light training, and how less sleep can impact all those things so much too, I think is the double-edged sword.
I mean, I was sleep deprived going into this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I want to ask just about one more thing, and then I'll let you go. But so this, obviously we've talked about this incredible feat, but I want to just throw in what I'll call a humanizing thing. Can we just talk about, um, if you want, or we can cut it out, but like the hurricane last year and how that kind of came up in Colorado and that kind of thing? Just, I don't know. I think it's just really interesting, and I've had similar stuff if you're open to talking about it.
I am. I'm really trying to move past the hurricane. It's caused me some problems. So yeah, in July, I actually went out to the Colorado Trail to attempt an FKT. It wasn't originally going to be an FKT. Originally, I was going to slow hike the Colorado Trail just to stay in shape in preparation for the Arizona Trail. But when I got out there, I'm like, well, Canyon's going to be born next month. Like, maybe I should just sandbag the Colorado Trail FKT in case I'm not able to do the Arizona Trail FKT. But I started having like big concerns, like because of the monsoons. Colorado's not a monsoon. Those are not monsoons. I don't know why they call them monsoons. But like all these concerns about these afternoon rainstorms and thunderstorms. And I was concerned that I might have PCT hurricane flashbacks. And so I actually went up to the Colorado Trail high point in the middle of the afternoon to force, before the FKT attempt, to force myself to be in one of those storms to see how I would react. And Jeff, that was the most fun I've had all year. I mean, it was like dodging lightning, like, like trying to dodge the hail. And I got the sexiest picture of lightning, the best picture I've taken all year. I mean, I had an amazing experience. I'm like, all right, game on. Like, this is going to be fun. Let's do this. And then so I go to start the FKT, and I'm sleeping at the trailhead in Durango, and a park ranger at like 10:30 p.m. comes and wakes me up and kicks me out. He's like, you can't be sleeping here. And I'm like, I'm starting the trail at like 4 a.m. Like, I'm going to be gone. And he's like, no, you can't. So I had to walk back into Durango.
Oh,
and
that's
then
miles.
Yeah. I walked back into Durango and then turned around and walked right back. Because I'm like, surely he's gone by now. And so I only got 2 hours of sleep before starting that attempt. And I mean, I was cruising. I mean, I puked my guts out at the beginning, but I was cruising. And when it was only like 9 p.m. and I was like, like 50 or 60 miles in. And then like the sun went down and I started having like panic attacks about sleep deprivation.
Oh,
Like, I was like, I don't ever want to have to be as tired as I was on the PCT. Like, I don't want to have to experience that again. And so like I lost it. I lost control and I gave up. I quit. I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is not right. I don't know if it was because of the 2 hours of sleep the night before with the park ranger or what it was, but like I was not in a good mental space at all. I just didn't want to have to be as tired as I was on the PCT ever again. I was so tired. And so I quit. And then which is a huge blow to my confidence. Like, I mean, like, am I done? Like, can I even do this anymore? Like, And so the Arizona Trail was really good. I'm so glad I was able to go through, especially with so little sleep. It gave me another boost of confidence that maybe I still have this in me.
Yeah. All right, last question. What do you think makes you so good at these?
I'm stupid. um, So Jeff, I don't have a body like yours. I don't have a body like Joe McConaughey. I'm not tall and lean and skinny, and I don't glide along the trails like Carl Sava. I'm 200 pounds. Well, right now I'm 185. I think I'm just really stubborn. Like I think my mind is my strength. And so whenever I have issues with my mind, it really bothers me. Like it really bothered me on the Colorado Trail. I like to learn and I like to improve upon anything I've done in the past. And so, I've had, this is my 5th FKT and I've learned drastically from each one. I'm always trying to figure out, okay, what could I do better? What can I tweak? I have to give a lot of credit to Joe McConaughey because he trained me before the PNT FKT and he gave me my base FKT knowledge. Jeff, you've given me tons of tips. Josh Perry inspires the hell out of me. He makes me believe bigger miles are possible. Like, and it's the belief. It's 100% belief. If I didn't believe it was possible, it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the secret recipe right there. As soon as you believe so much in yourself and that it's possible, that's when you can just go do it if you have a strong enough mind.
Yeah.
So what's next?
I have unfinished business with the Ouachita Trail.
We both do. I think I had like COVID when I was going to go get it. You've gotten hurt or threw up every time. Yeah. I've thought about it 2 different times and it's never worked out.
Yeah, I'm going to crush that thing this spring. I'm going to freaking destroy it.
And then
Now I believe I can do 70 miles a day, and that's only going to be 3 days. So yeah, I want to do 75 a day on that thing.
Yeah.
So unsupported.
And then do you have any ideas beyond that?
I haven't fully made up my mind yet. I keep going back and forth because I don't know if I want to have go through it again.
Well, thanks for jumping on. This was super fun. You are awesome. And it's pretty crazy what you're able to do. All right. Thank you for listening to the episode. Nick is super inspirational. Awesome guy. His record is probably the record FKT of the year. I mean, it's incredibly inspiring, super cool. So you could support him by buying his book, Itch. It's a good book. I wrote the foreword, as I told you. You can support the podcast at patreon.com/freeoutside, or you can buy my book, Free Outside, or just give us 5 stars on any platform podcasts are sold. All right, with that, guys, stay elite, my friends.